Namaste. Good afternoon, all. A warm welcome to this viewers and this webinar. Myself, Advocate Bhagyashree, doing legal practice from HL1 Associate. I'm thankful to Law and Society Alliance for giving this wonderful opportunity. My special thanks to Advocate Kumar Vaidyanathan Sir, Secretary General Law and Society Alliance Mumbai, and Advocate N.C. Bipindra Sir, Chairman Law and Society Alliance Editor, Defense Delhi. Thank you. As time is moved, I would like to move to our today's speaker, Advocate Chaitanya Tolkar. Advocate Chaitanya Tolkar is law professional with over 15 years of experience in legal field with core areas of practice being labor and industrial laws and consumer laws. He primarily practices in labor and industrial court, but also appears in High Court, consumer forums, and state commission. Have handled more than 100 departmental inquiries for companies, various reputed banks, fund companies, trusts, etc. Advocate on records for Maharashtra State Electricity Distribution Cooperative Limited, Lokhandwala International School, St. Francis Technical Education, Sunbeam Chunchunwala College. If you have any question, queries, or comments regarding today's topic, please put into the group chat box. Advocate Tolkar sir, over to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. You are audible. Continue.
Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Sir,
Hello.
you are audible.
Not able to hear anybody.
Yes, sir.
I think we are facing some technical issues. We'll just wait for a minute or so for Chaitanya sir to join in back.
लवकर. It's okay. ये लवकर. Hello.
Yes, sir. You are
Hello.
audible.
Yeah. I would like to thank the legal cell for allowing me to conduct this webinar. I'm sorry for the network. There was some discomfort in the network. Now, before we basically start with this webinar, I would like to point out that instead of referring to the BEAR Act, I would like to conduct this seminar or a webinar only on the basis of the practical issues which we deal in a disciplinary inquiry. Now, let us know first that what do we mean by a disciplinary inquiry? Why do we need a disciplinary inquiry? A disciplinary inquiry is a fact-finding inquiry in which we basically investigate into the charges leveled against a particular delinquent in the charge sheet. Now, why do we need to investigate this particular facts in the disciplinary inquiry? Let us go into a question answer session kind of a thing wherein a lot of questions will get answered in this. Now, what is the base of the inquiry? Let us go into the basics that even a novice or a fresher would understand. What is the basis of an inquiry? The basis
Please proceed.
Yes, Kumar. That's okay. Okay. So, who are the parties in an departmental inquiry? Let us go back to my earlier point: is that the inquiry officer, the management representative, the defense representative, and the witnesses from both the sides, as well as the recorder. Now, why do we need a departmental inquiry? I am just repeating my earlier point so that I don't know whether it was audible or not. The main reason why we need a departmental inquiry is so that an employer cannot cherry pick certain set of employees whom he does not like or he doesn't want to be in the employment and conduct a false inquiry or issue a false and baseless charge sheet and sack them from the services directly. So the main purpose or the object of a departmental inquiry is that every person should get an opportunity of being heard of the allegations leveled against him and to defend him fairly and properly in an inquiry. Now, what are the provisions of law under the in which the inquiry is to be conducted? Now, today we are only dealing with the Bombay Industrial Standing Orders Rules 1959. Now, in this particular rule, let us only see two main provisions: is that Rule 24 and Rule 25. Rule 24 specifies about the various acts of misconduct which are mentioned from willful insubordinations, disobedience of the reasonable orders of the superiors, theft, dishonesty of the employer's property, or misappropriation of funds, sexual harassment, etc., etc. We need not go into all these particular charges. This is just for the purpose of information. Now, as far as Rule 25 is concerned, that is a very important rule as far as procedure of inquiry is concerned. Let us just lay our hands on this particular provision. A workman against whom an inquiry is proposed to be held shall be given a charge sheet clearly setting forth the circumstances appearing against him and requiring his explanation. He shall be permitted to appear himself for defending him, or shall be permitted to be defended by a workman working in the same department as himself or any office bearer of the trade union of which he is a member. Except for reasons to be recorded in writing by the officer holding the inquiry, the workman shall be permitted to produce witnesses in the defense and cross-examine any witness, etc., etc. A concise summary of the evidence led on the either side and the workman's plea shall be recorded. Now, if we see Rule 25, Rule 25 only clearly says as to how an inquiry should be roughly or summarily conducted. It does not clarify as to what are the stages of the inquiry. Now, my role as an inquiry officer, I have appeared in many inquiries. My basic aim is for the people to know as to what is the procedure for conducting an inquiry. Now, what is the procedure? What happens in inquiry? An inquiry, the very first day, the inquiry officer shall take the documents on record. For example, the appointment letter of the inquiry officer, the appointment letter of the management representative, the charge sheet which is issued to the delinquent, as well as preliminary question of the delinquent or the employee as to whether he has received the charge sheet, whether he has understood the contents of the charge sheet, in which language he desires the inquiry to be conducted, whether he desires to be represented by any particular co-employee or a union representative, or whether he desires to be defended by himself in the inquiry. All these particular aspects and the procedure of the inquiry. What is the procedure is that first, either party should file the respective documents in the inquiry. The documents will be exhibited for the purpose of identification, only for the purpose of identification, so that all the three parties are on the same page, like we do in the courts. It is known as numbering. So exhibition of documents means numbering of the documents. Thereafter, all the proceedings shall be, every date of the proceedings shall be handed over to the charge sheeted employee or his DR, as either of them are present. Now, what are the inquiry proceedings? We always hear this particular term, inquiry proceedings, inquiry report. So we need to know what is an inquiry proceeding. Inquiry proceedings are nothing but minutes of the meeting. Minutes of the meeting means each and every submission should be recorded ad verbatim. Whenever any submission is made by the defense representative, all these particular submissions will be recorded by the inquiry officer in the inquiry. For that particular purpose only, the inquiry officer has to record the word-to-word submission of the particular party. Now, what should be the contents of the proceedings? The contents of the proceedings, obviously, if we see the procedure, first the documents are filed on the record, the documents are exhibited. Then the management, since the management has issued the charge sheet to the employees, it is the duty of the management to lead the evidence on evidence first in the inquiry, which means that they have to lead oral evidence or evidence in the written form. In Siddheshwar Bank judgment, it is clear that evidence can also be in a written form. It may not be necessarily in an oral form. Now, after the witnesses are examined by the management, then the opportunity will be given to the defense to cross-examine that particular witness. So after the evidence of the management is over, then obviously the role will shift to the defense to lead their evidence, and then opportunity will be given to the management to cross-examine the respective defense witnesses. After the defense witnesses evidence comes to an end, the inquiry shall be concluded. Now, what generally do we mean? What is the difference between exhibition of documents in an disciplinary inquiry and exhibition of document in a court? Normally, in an inquiry, every document which is produced on record shall be exhibited only for the purpose of identification. It has nothing to do with the proving of the document. And as far as the court is concerned, only the list is exhibited, not the document. If you want to exhibit the document, you have to step in the box and prove the contents and the signatures on the said document. Now, whether it is necessary to record the proceedings on computer or handwritten proceedings are also allowed. So according to me, there is no such procedure. You can basically record the proceeding handwritten way or manner, or you can also type it on the computer. But the advantage of the computer is that it's easy to save time, because the title of the proceedings can be copied, pasted, and thereafter the signatures can be obtained of all the parties on the said proceedings. Now, who appoints an inquiry officer? The inquiry officer is generally appointed by the management. What are the powers of the inquiry officer? The inquiry officer's powers are very limited. His powers are only restricted to the charges leveled in the charge sheet. If we see the appointment letter of the inquiry officer, it only talks about the charge sheet. An inquiry officer cannot be running on his own trip and go beyond the purview of the charge sheet. He has to restrict himself. He has to give rulings only up to the purview of the charge sheet. Now, what is the role of the inquiry officer? Who is considered a inquiry officer? An inquiry officer has to be always unbiased. There cannot be any vested interest of an inquiry officer. He has to conduct the inquiry in a fair and proper manner. Fair and proper manner, which means that every person should get an equal opportunity to lead his evidence. If a party is saying that, I cannot bring my defense representative on the very first day due to some bona fide reason, he should be liberal in granting adjournments. However, it also means that he cannot be so liberal that he can keep on extending the inquiry from time to time. The inquiry officer's role is also that he should be able to convince the employees to participate and cooperate in participating in the inquiry in a fair manner. Now, an inquiry ideally should be conducted completed within 3 months. However, this inquiry can be extended for the reasons which are to be specified by the inquiry officer in this inquiry proceedings. Which means that there are various reasons due to which inquiry gets adjourned. Sometimes due to, now we are seeing this lockdown period, due to the pandemic situation also, inquiries have been prolonged. So there is no hard and fast rule. Whenever the inquiries will resume, obviously he has to mention the reason as to this inquiry has been adjourned or after why it is conducted. Now, an inquiry officer's report. An inquiry officer's report is a report which normally contains all the facts, all the documents, and it also contains the analysis, the detailed analysis on which the inquiry officer has come to a conclusion whether he is holding the delinquent guilty or not guilty of the charges leveled in the charge sheet. Now, it is not important for an inquiry officer that each and every charge which is being alleged against the delinquent has to be proved. Even if he says that certain charges are not proved by the management, he has to give a specific reason. He has to analyze the evidence from both sides, and only then he can draw a conclusion, because an inquiry officer cannot be just copy pasting, use his mind as to what made him give a particular ruling in the favor of the delinquent or in the favor of the management. Now, we will also have to see what is the basic principle of the departmental inquiry. The basis of conclusion by an inquiry officer is should be on the basis of preponderance of probability. Unlike to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. What we mean is that even a substantial evidence, though proved in the departmental inquiry, can hold the delinquent guilty of the charges leveled in the charge sheet, unlike a criminal trial wherein you have to prove each and every minute detail to hold a particular person guilty in an inquiry. Now, I would just like to point out 2005 1 CLR 524 Supreme Court para number 34. It has differentiated that the judgment is of Cholan Roadways Limited, in which there is a differentiation between a criminal trial and a disciplinary inquiry. Now, we would not like to go deep into that, but the main judgment which I would like everyone to go through is the judgment passed by Honorable Bombay High Court, Division Controller versus Bhushan Bulbule, dated 7/5/2019. Now, why this judgment is very important as far as inquiry part is concerned? It contains in detail how an inquiry has to be conducted. It contains about it also specifies how the inquiry officer should mention in what all things he should mention in his report and findings. It also mentions that when the inquiry goes for a challenge, on every inquiry, it is not necessary for the inquiry officer to lead his evidence. The fairness of inquiry and perversity of findings can also be gone through after perusing the inquiry proceedings and the report. Now, let us see whether there are any specific rules pertaining to principles of natural justice. Now, principles of natural justice are nowhere defined in particular as far as Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. It must be proved by the delinquent that no prejudice has been caused to him. Now, what are the ingredients of the inquiry reports we have already discussed? Now, as far as the management representative and the defense representative is concerned, management representative is a person who's appointed by the management. He's the authorized representative of the management whose role is to defend the management in the inquiry. Second most important thing what a management representative needs to do is he needs to have a clear-cut homework of the charge sheet and the facts alleged in the charge sheet. The management representative has to take proper instructions from the management, because those are the basis in which he is going to conduct the cross-examination of the defense representative. It is also the role of the management representative to ensure that he proves each and every document filed by the management through his respective witness in the inquiry. And it is also the role of the management representative to raise relevant objections when certain irrelevant or unreasonable objections are taken by the defense. Now, as far as the management representative is concerned, the management representative has also to ensure that he has tried to prove the charges leveled against the delinquent in his fullest capacity, because the basis on which he will cross-examine the defense witnesses, or in the basis of which he will prove his documents, will help the inquiry officer to prove the case in favor of the management. Now, what is the role of a defense representative? The defense representative is generally an office bearer of the union or an advocate, or sometimes the charge sheeted employee chooses to be defended by himself in the inquiry. Now, I have gone through n number of inquiries, and I sincerely believe, it is my opinion after all, that the inquiry officer and the MR, as well as the DR's advocate or DR's representative, should be an advocate, because it is very easy for advocates, because they have full knowledge, they have the legal acumen to deal with cross-examination. That doesn't mean that the office bearers of the unions do not have the legal acumen, but there is always a simplicity in leading the cross-examination, and so that it is easier for the inquiry officer also to handle the inquiry proceeding in a fair manner. Now, what are the advantages? Now, let us go into the practical
Sorry
aspects
to
of.
interrupt you, sir.
Yeah.
2-3 minutes, sir.
Yeah.
Then 2-3 minutes you have continue.
Yes. Yes.
Then
Yes.
start.
So
Okay.
in the nutshell, I would like to sincerely say that all the freshers should definitely take up assignments as inquiry officer, MR, and EO, because it is very easy for them to lead evidence in the inquiry and utilize that knowledge and utilize that experience while conducting matters in the court. With this, I would like to end my lecture. I think I have substantially covered points about the disciplinary inquiry. In case if there are any unanswered questions, we would like to take up that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Your excellent speech on today's topic. We'll like to have a question and answer session. The question is, once the inquiry is over and concluded that employee is found guilty, how it should
Yeah.
be decided that the punishment is proportionate to misconduct?
Yeah, so his past service record has to be seen. Also, whether he has committed similar misconducts in the past, whether he has been issued a memo in the past, whether he has been issued charge sheet in the past, whether he has been issued a punishment apart from dismissal, which may be withdrawal of the increments or imposition of fine or any other kind of punishment except dismissal. These all are the factors which we have to see before dismissing any person from the service. Yeah.
Can the result of inquiry be overturned by court? On what grounds?
Yes, the result, the inquiry proceedings can be challenged before the Honorable Labour Court after the dismissal of the inquiry, and the court has a power to pass a judgment whether the inquiry is fair and proper and whether the findings are perverse.
Anybody wants to questions? Put in the box, chat box, please. Hello. The one question is, what sort of inquiry you have taken is a MSDSL electricity bill hike matter? Chaitanya sir, I'm audible? Some technical issues is there.
Hello, I think we are again facing technical issues with Chaitanya sir. Bhageshri madam, can you please conclude the meeting?
I'm audible, sir? Hello?
Yeah,
Now
audible.
again,
Yes, madam.
yes. Now again, we are meeting on 30th July 2020 at 2:20 p.m. with new topic, that is impetus of linguistic skills. With speaker will be Dr. Sangeeta Shetty and moderator Advocate Purnata Rayani. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends. Apologies for the technical issues today.
Thank you. Thank you all participants. Thank you.
We'll catch up tomorrow. Thank you.